Where could my hotel be?
Huh? My husband and I are. My mother-in-law, who wants to divorce me, and my husband, is clearly giving me a hard time. But I never thought she would follow us even to our honeymoon. Plus, my mother-in-law has my husband on her side. She not only gets him to protect her from me, who usually warns him about her bullying, but she also gets us to buy her various things with our money and treat her to delicious meals. So, for this trip as well, it seems like she is relying on our money, bringing very little cash with her. However, the truth is that my husband is no longer on my mother-in-law's side. Now it's my turn to get my husband on my side and fight back against my mother-in-law. She is going to pay for messing up my married life. I met my husband, John, through a mutual friend. He is 6 years older than me, and I fell in love with his mature charm. He seemed interested in me as well, and we naturally started dating. 3 years later, having been in a relationship for a decent amount of time, and as I was 29, about to enter my 30s, we got married and started our happy married life. However, since both of us work and are at an age where we are given a considerable amount of responsibility at our jobs, it's been hard to find the right time to take a long vacation. Our honeymoon has been postponed. I am eager to go on our honeymoon, but waiting for the right time to go on a honeymoon trip, excitedly with my husband, is also fun.
We should go on our honeymoon soon.
Yeah, let's gather lots of information about the destination now, so we can really enjoy it later. We've decided to go to Cebu Island in the Philippines for our honeymoon, and we've been collecting information from brochures and the internet. There are not many tourist spots, but it is an attractive resort area where we can fully enjoy the beautiful sea, plus the cost of living is low. Also, although the official language of the Philippines is Tagalog, English is generally understood. So we shouldn't have any language problems during the trip. Everything seems to be going smoothly with my married life and the upcoming honeymoon, but there is one thing that worries me. It is the presence of my mother-in-law. My mother-in-law, Susan, is 62 years old, and she got divorced when my husband was in elementary school. It seems like my husband is grateful to his mother for raising him, and he has been sending her money every month since he started working. After starting to receive the money from my husband, Susan quit her full-time job and switched to a part-time job. She was working and receiving child support from her ex-husband before my husband started working, so it seems she didn't have any financial troubles. Even after the divorce, my husband was able to regularly meet his father, Steve, so he didn't feel much loneliness from not having a father around. I also met my father-in-law before getting married and talked to him. This guy doesn't think for himself and easily gets swayed by others, so I hope you can steer him in the right direction. My father-in-law gave me a very sincere and caring impression. I didn't ask in detail, but I assumed that my in-laws went through a lot before they got divorced. Even if it was an amicable divorce, it must have been tough for a woman to raise a child alone. I think Susan is admirable as a woman. However, Susan became an overprotective mother because she raised her son with so much care. What time is John coming home today? I don't know. I think he should be home soon. You know, you should keep track of your husband's return time. Saying that, Susan sent a message to my husband asking him when he would be home. Right after we started our married life, Susan began coming to our house every Friday evening and staying until Sunday. She would do household chores such as cooking and laundry while she was staying, but she was doing it not to help me, but to take care of her son.
John likes this seasoning. John's clothes should be folded this way and arranged in this order, or he seems to have trouble using them.
Honestly, I wish she wouldn't disturb our time as a newlywed couple and our weekends. However, I think it's natural for a mother who raised her child with so much care to worry about whether her child is having a successful marriage. I don't want to disrupt our relationship by warning Susan, so I decided to endure her behavior for a while, hoping that once she realizes our married life is going smoothly, she will stop coming. I often get told that I'm too considerate of others, always putting their needs before mine. Indeed, I often regret not speaking up when something bothers me. Hey, with this seasoning, John won't be able to eat it. Make it again. If you put away the clothes like this, it's hard for John to use them. Take them all out and rearrange them. Until now, my mother-in-law, who'd come over on weekends, would do the chores without asking. Of course, since it's my house, it's natural for me to do the household chores. However, I was puzzled as to why she suddenly stopped doing them herself after having been so keen on them before. Moreover, she keeps making me redo tasks, saying I did them wrong. This makes my weekends tiring. I asked my husband if he knew why her attitude had suddenly changed.
Susan has been really strict lately. Did I do something wrong?
Maybe it's because I kinda complained. It's normal to feel some dissatisfaction when your living environment changes after marriage. Since living with me, my husband had been bothered by things like me leaving water around the sink after using it or forgetting to add more water to the bathtub after I bathe. But we both remind each other about these things, they're not major issues for us. However, when my husband casually mentioned these minor annoyances to his overprotective mother, she misunderstood, thinking he was genuinely distressed. She started to see me as a wife who's causing her dear son discomfort.
Hey, I know it's hard since we're close, but can you talk to your mom about this? And maybe she could visit less? We aren't newlyweds anymore.
Yeah, you're right. I'll talk to her about it. My husband seemed a bit down, but he agreed to speak to his mother. Even though she started treating me unfairly, she's still the woman who raised my husband with so much care. He must feel conflicted about confronting her. Though I felt it was a harsh request, I still asked my husband to talk to his mother about her behavior. I hoped this would calm the situation and reduce the frequency of her visits, allowing us to enjoy our newlywed life even more than before. That's what I thought, but things took an unexpected turn.
I've told you so many times that John doesn't like this flavor.
When will you learn how to cook properly? Yeah, why can't you listen to my mom? Despite all this, my mother-in-law continued to visit us every weekend. And now, with my husband on her side, they both started to team up against me. How did things end up this way? Turns out, it was all her doing.
Why are you siding with Mom? Didn't you say you'd talk to her?
I heard from her. When I'm not around, she says you've been bullying her. It seems my husband believed the lies his mother told him when he confronted her.
John likes it this way, so make it like this.
Enough. Stop being so nitpicky.
Let me do things my way.
The version of me in her stories seemed exaggerated. Moreover, without any proof, my husband fully believed her words. If there's no evidence, he should at least doubt her claims a little and ask me about it. Now I understand why my father-in-law once said that my husband is easily swayed and doesn't think for himself. It seems my husband is quite gullible. And with my husband on her side, my mother-in-law's behavior only got worse.
John, where should we go today?
How about that pasta place downtown we haven't been to in a while? Just stay home, okay? They started to go out, leaving me behind. This is a classic case of a mother-in-law bullying her daughter-in-law. Furthermore, my husband seems to be paying for all her expenses. The money he's spending on her is our money. We got married, which means we need to save for our future, including our retirement and potential childcare costs. It's not right for him to spend it so carelessly. I then overheard a conversation that really shocked me.
It's hard visiting every week. Maybe I should just move in?
That might be a good idea. We both work, so it'd be helpful if you were around, Mom. While I wanted to spend more time with my husband, now I'm faced with the possibility of living with my mother-in-law. Especially under these strange circumstances. This is ridiculous. Not to mention she lied to my dear husband, causing a rift between us. I decided to confront her directly. When my husband was present, he would take his mother's side, becoming an adversary to me. Moreover, his mother wouldn't speak her true feelings if he was around. Therefore, I seized the opportunity to talk to her when my husband was in the bath and she was alone. Susan, you lied to John, saying I bullied you. That's really low. John completely believes you. So what? It's your fault for causing problems so early in your marriage. I think John would be better off without a wife like you. I only lied for John's sake. There are necessary lies in the world, you know. My mother-in-law seems to have no intention of changing her attitude, even when I point things out to her. However, I didn't think a person who could easily bully her daughter-in-law for the sake of her son would actually listen, so this was expected. The purpose of my warning this time was not to make her change her attitude, but to get her to speak her true feelings. I recorded the moment she admitted to lying with a smartphone app, and played the audio for my husband.
I'm sorry. You were right all along.
As long as you understand. I don't want to say this, but you are too soft on your mom. I want you to reconsider how you interact with her.
I understand. I'm likely to be lenient again if I'm left to my own devices, so will you help me think about how to interact with my mom from now on?
I lost my husband to my mother-in-law, but I wasn't feeling rushed. I believed that I could win him back at any time. Since my husband doesn't think for himself and is easily swayed by others, I was confident that if I provided evidence that my mother-in-law was lying and persuaded him, he would take my side. Sure enough, he admitted his mistake right away. Being gullible means he is pure and honest, so I don't want him to change his current personality. Being able to admit his faults and reflect like an adult is rather a strength. I didn't persuade my husband right away because I didn't want to worsen the relationship between him and his mother if possible. Therefore, I put up with a bit of bullying, but I can't stay silent and endure things like using our money or living with my mother-in-law. So, I gave up on maintaining the relationship between my husband and his mother and decided to persuade my husband. As a result of discussing how to interact with my mother-in-law from now on with my husband, we decided to put off living together and to ask her not to come to our house. However, I find it hard to believe that my overprotective mother-in-law, who is ready to interfere, will readily agree to our wishes. Therefore, we racked our brains on how to persuade my mother-in-law. Furthermore, my husband dropped a bombshell.
Oh no. My mom was planning to come on our honeymoon. What? Did you tell her the destination and the dates? She's probably planning to make us pay for her, isn't she? She said she would pay for her own flight and hotel. But she didn't say anything else, so I think she's planning to have us pay for everything else at the destination.
We were finally seeing a light at the end of the tunnel for our postponed honeymoon. To think she'd follow us even to our much-anticipated honeymoon, how overprotective can a parent get? But there's opportunity in crisis.
Let's use this honeymoon to our advantage then.
My husband and I decided to devise a plan to change my mother-in-law's attitude.
Mom, actually, we've been thinking, and we'd prefer it if you didn't come on our honeymoon.
Why all of a sudden? Don't worry, I won't get in John's way.
I'm not going on John's honeymoon, I just happen to be traveling to the same place, so let's hang out from time to time.
Besides, I'm worried sick about leaving him alone with that stupid wife for so many days overseas.
I see. So, you're planning to enjoy a solo trip for the most part. It's reassuring to think that you'll be nearby, even if we're not together all the time. I feel uneasy being alone with that stupid wife.
That's right. I'll take care of my hotel and flight by myself, so just take care of things at the destination, okay? We had my husband check if my mother-in-law was seriously considering coming on our honeymoon, and as expected, she was indeed planning to come. Since we're planning to do things together locally, it seems like we're relying on our money at the travel destination, just like my husband said. Moreover, it seemed like she had no intention of listening even when my husband told her he didn't want her to come. Although it would have been better if she had backed off when my husband told her not to come, it seems like she didn't realize that she had lost her chance to gracefully exit the situation. Afterwards, we were finally able to go on our long-awaited honeymoon. On the island of Cebu in the Philippines, we thoroughly enjoyed our trip, shopping, playing at the beautiful beaches, eating local cuisine, and more. Then, it seemed like my mother-in-law had also arrived, and she called my husband.
Hello. I've arrived at the airport. Should we meet up for now? Where are you?
My husband told her to stay put at the airport, and we decided to go to the airport to meet her.
This is my first time in the Philippines. There are really beautiful beaches here, right? Let's go.
I'm sorry, Susan. We've already been to the beach. What? Going ahead without me, how inconsiderate. You really are a dumb daughter-in-law. Well, Mom, you are on a solo trip, so it's not like you have to do everything with us, right? I'll write down the directions for you, so why don't you go? Unlike that dumb daughter-in-law, John knows what's up. You're wasted on her. I've heard a lot of stories about people getting divorced after their honeymoon. I hope that happens to you. Even abroad, she's spewing venom at me, which is really unpleasant. However, since she's going to have a hard time from now on, I'll let this slide.
Well, I'm going to go to the beach.
Excited, my mother-in-law left the airport after getting directions to the beach from my husband, and we waved goodbye to her. 5 hours later, she called my husband again. I wanted to give her a taste of her own medicine, so I answered the phone instead of my husband.
Hello? Where is my hotel? We're staying at the same hotel, right? I got lost.
Huh? My husband and I have already returned to our country. We just got home a little while ago.
What? What do you mean? Aren't you in the middle of your honeymoon?
Since she called using a messaging app, it connected to my husband's phone without any special settings, and she didn't seem to fully grasp the situation, so I explained it to her in detail. Yes. But today was the last day, so after seeing you off at the airport, we just got on a plane. Before my husband was on my side, he had already told my mother-in-law the honeymoon schedule and hotel details. Therefore, we changed our honeymoon dates so that we would return to our country on the day she arrived. We arranged the trip ourselves instead of going on a tour. So, it was a hassle but not difficult to adjust our schedule.
What? What am I supposed to do here all alone?
You're on a solo trip, aren't you? Being alone is to be expected. We even had a short interaction, so it's good that we fulfilled the promise to do something together with my husband, right?
That's right. Where's John? John, come help me.
Even though I was still on the phone, she was calling out for my husband. She must be really panicking. I wanted to listen to her panicking voice a bit more, but since she wanted to talk to my husband, I handed him the phone. Mom, don't you know where the hotel is? I'll teach you how to use the map app.
John, why did you go back? You were forced to go back by that dumb daughter-in-law, weren't you?
No, that's not it. Remember I told you not to come to our honeymoon? You didn't listen when I asked you not to come, so we changed our schedule.
What? You were calling her a dumb daughter-in-law even before we left for the honeymoon, weren't you? Why are you taking her side now?
I heard the voice recording of you lying to me, Mom. I was wrong for believing what you were saying. Hearing words that sounded like denial from her beloved son, my mother-in-law seemed to be in shock and couldn't say anything. My husband was on my side after I persuaded him before the honeymoon. But I couldn't let on that we had changed our honeymoon plans, so I asked my husband to continue pretending to be on my mother-in-law's side. Even though it was all an act, it seemed to hurt him to call me a stupid wife, and he always apologized to me after my mother-in-law left, saying she would be back after the weekend. He's such a genuine person, apologizing even though I tell him it's okay since it's all an act. There was silence for a while, so perhaps thinking there was nothing more to say, my husband hung up. Later, my mother-in-law managed to get to her hotel using her map app and sent a message to my husband. He didn't reply, but she sent messages every now and then, so we were able to keep track of her situation in the Philippines. She was counting on our money, so she had very little cash, which apparently resulted in her staying in her hotel room for 5 days. 5 days after we left my mother-in-law in the Philippines, she arrived at our house in a furious state, luggage from her trip in tow.
What the hell is wrong with you two? Do you have any idea what I've been through?
She shouted the moment she entered. It was ridiculous. She was the one who had tried to mess up our honeymoon. How could she play the victim? We told you not to come on our honeymoon, but you wouldn't listen. We had no choice but to change our plans. John responded. That's right. And besides, isn't it strange to follow us on our honeymoon in the first place? At that, my mother-in-law glared at me. Even though she pretended to be on my side, she didn't want to be harsh with her son, so it seemed she was planning to direct all her anger at me.
For John's sake, this stupid wife who can't even learn to do housework properly is the problem. Just divorce her already. If you won't divorce her, maybe I should kill her myself. If she's gone, John can find a new wife.
With that, she shoved me. I was pushed with such force that I couldn't brace myself in time and fell, hitting my back and the back of my head on the floor.
Mom, that's way out of line.
It was just a little push. She's just making a big deal out of it, she retorted. My husband was furious that his mother had resorted to violence against me. To think that he would stand up for me like that. I'm okay, really. I reassured him, getting up quickly. Seeing that I was all right, my husband threw my mother-in-law out of the house. Just leave for today. I'll get in touch later. After she left, my husband and I exchanged troubled glances. We had actually anticipated that my mother-in-law might come straight to our house to scold me upon her return. So, we had secretly recorded our confrontation with her using a tablet we hid near the entrance. We wanted to capture her threatening me on camera. Our plan was to use the footage to warn her that her threats constituted a crime. And we could report her to the police. We hoped this would make her reflect on her actions and perhaps lead her to reduce the frequency of her visits to our house. Even if we didn't actually intend to go to the police unless absolutely necessary, and we were aware that the police might not take our case seriously. However, now that she had resorted to violence, and we had that on video too, We were contemplating whether we should actually go to the police. While we didn't want to escalate things to that extent, even considering she tried to sabotage our honeymoon, we couldn't just do nothing after she attacked me. This left us in quite a predicament. After a long silence, my husband started making a phone call.
Dad, actually, you know.
The husband called his father-in-law to consult with him. As the husband nodded in agreement during the conversation, he eventually hung up the phone.
You called your father, didn't you? What did he say?
He said, "Don't hold back just because she's your mother.
A crime is a crime, and if you don't instill a sense of guilt for doing something wrong, there won't be any reflection."
After hearing that from Dad, I realized he was right. It's a thoughtful perspective, typical of a sincere father-in-law. Additionally, the husband is indeed easily swayed by others. This time too, it seems like he's readily accepted his father-in-law's opinion. However, being influenced by others isn't always a bad thing. If you receive sound advice from someone like the father-in-law, it can guide you in the right direction. Even if you get negatively influenced, like by the mother-in-law, acknowledging your mistakes candidly can lead to growth. Since my husband can do that, I really like his personality. Let's go submit this footage to the police. Has the husband grown from the series of events, from being lied to by the mother-in-law, receiving sound advice from the father-in-law, and now this? His expression seemed a bit more resilient than before. My husband and I went to the police to submit the footage where I was being assaulted by the mother-in-law. The mother-in-law was asked to voluntarily accompany them to the police station for questioning. Given that it was a family dispute, it ended with a stern warning this time, but she was severely reprimanded, being told that her actions could have led to charges of assault and threatening. Getting scolded by the police made the mother-in-law behave and stop coming to our house. Moreover, through this incident, the husband has grown a bit tougher, dealing with lies from the mother-in-law, my getting angry after being assaulted, receiving advice from the father-in-law, and so on. It seems like he has discarded the notion of holding back just because the other party is his mother, and now speaks up when necessary, even to his mother. He seems quite angry that his mother assaulted me, and he's been keeping her at arm's length, telling her not to come to our house unless necessary and not to contact us. This is also one of the reasons she stopped coming. For the mother-in-law, who is overprotective and adores her son, being pushed away by him must be the hardest thing. Moreover, the husband has stopped sending her money, which he had been doing consistently. It seems like the mother-in-law was planning to live off our money by moving in with us, and had even quit her part-time job in anticipation. This has gone beyond overprotection, it's dependency. At 62, it seems to be quite difficult for her to find a new job, and she's desperately searching for work. Now that the mother-in-law has stopped coming over, we, as a couple, have finally been able to start a peaceful newlywed life together. Spending time just the two of us is blissful.